everyone. Welcome back to the Lupit interview series. Today we're going to have Colleen Jolly on with us. Super excited. She's got such an interesting story of how she came into pole herself. And then as you may know, she is the organizer for the pole convention, International Pole Convention. And also on top of that, I'm going to add her here. On top of that, she has her own mobility training program. So lots of programs that you can join with her because she, interestingly enough, has kind of a hyper flexibility situation and needed to gain strength and mobility to make sure she was supported. So super excited to have her on today. I see you, Colleen. I'm going to see if I can request you to come on. I think there we go. See if you can see that there's a little line, and there she is. Hello, Colleen. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you for joining us today. I'm really excited to talk about all the things you have going because you have a lot of things going.
Yes. Sometimes it's hard to keep up.
Yeah. I mean, you are the organizer of the International Pole Convention. You have your own training programs regarding mobility, and you also run a whole kind of association to help studio owners and people in the pole industry to have as much information as they can to make sure that their businesses are moving forward and they can sustain themselves so more people can pole dance.
Yeah. And my book. Yay.
Oh my gosh. Can we talk about that for a minute? Go. I want to hear all
that. I wrote a book. Yay. No.
That.
Just like birthing something. Yeah, I've been really passionate about mobility. I had a really serious motorcycle accident when I was 19 and kind of had to do my own physical therapy because, health insurance being what it is. So I started doing my own thing. I found pole, and then I needed to learn how to progress safely. And I started during the pandemic, these mobility classes to really focus on helping myself and helping others. And one of my students was like, you should write a book because I talk in my class to try to explain why we do things. And I said, you're right. I should write a book. So I wrote a book.
Yeah. A couple years later, bada boom, it's here. So when was the official release date of your book?
Just this September. So it's like a month old, this book. So
fantastic. So tell me what we can find in there. Who is it for?
So this book is aimed at pole dancers, since those are the folks that I know the best, but I think really anybody could benefit from it. So if you've got family members who are saying oh, my low back always hurts, or I got a funky knee, it's a step-by-step talking about, oh my God, how am I going to do this? Understanding the body. So it kind of starts just to get us in, basically understand what we're doing all day. And there's all these little sections I call Try Now, where it's to get people actually to do some of the things, try this, see if it makes sense to you and your body. And then the whole second half of the book is a bunch of different mobility programs. So if you're I don't really care about the why, I just want to feel better, then you can just skip to the back. And there's videos. So you can just click the little QR code and there's videos for everything. But yeah, so it's just trying to take all this stuff that I learned, because I'm not a physical therapist, but I want to help myself. I want to help my students and just, get all that information out there. So it's the idea is it's very accessible, and it's been checked by a physical therapist to make sure I wasn't, making any shit up. So.
Wow, that is so exciting. I mean, I feel recently the pole world has seen all of these things like this that are really geared towards pole dancers, where in the past pole dancers are okay, we'll try to take what the muggles do and try to apply it as we will and as we can. And I just love seeing all this stuff that's hey, this is actually for you. So yeah,
it's so important. And we're learning so much, when you and I started, back in the dark ages, things things were just different. You know, we didn't know. We tried to figure stuff out. And now, you know, as we're all getting older and we want to keep doing this, we have to be more concerned about things like how we're sleeping and how we're taking care of our body and how we're nurturing our bodies in a way that's supportive for longevity and resilience. So those are all my current buzzwords.
Yeah, that is so true. It's like kind of when you first start, you're just kind of, it's cowboy town out there, you're trying this, you're trying that, and you're not really thinking about the longevity. And now here we are years and years later, still in the pole industry saying, but you know what? I really actually want to do this until I'm 80. So what does that mean? What do I have to actually start doing to keep this, you know, to keep this going? So I love it. I love the education and seeing that. So tell me a little bit about I want to know more about that personal story, because I remember chatting to you and you were telling me you had a very interesting situation with pole when you came in. You know, a lot of people come in and they are like, I don't have any flexibility. How do I gain flexibility to do pole dance? And you had a little bit of a different journey. And I want to highlight that too, because there's a lot of people who come in that have maybe a similar situation as what you had when you were a beginner.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a beginner, so I didn't have any background. So I was like, you know, I just took class on a lark with a friend of mine who, you know, saw pole dancing and was like, oh, this will be fun. And so I didn't have any grip strength. I really didn't believe they would make me wear shorts in my first class. I was like, no, yoga pants. Yeah, no, I needed shorts. And everything was just like so hard. It was so hard. Because it took me so long to gain strength, I definitely geared more toward flexibility stuff first. So like, for instance, I just naturally am flexible for the bird of paradise. I'm sorry, everybody's gonna be like, fuck you, lady. I know, but it's like, my body sort of moves that way. It's a benefit of some of my particular muscular compensations, but getting a handspring has like taken me forever to get that alignment and that strength. So it's like everybody's journey, we're all going to start with stuff, whether it's, you know, if you have a background in movement, this is different. If you've never had a background in movement, it's figuring out how your body's supposed to work, and then knowing those things that your body likes to do first, and then working, you know, you might have to work harder for something else than someone else does.
Yeah, I know. Someone was telling me the other day, they're like, comparison, that quote, comparison is the thief of joy. You know, everyone's whole journey is so unique. I mean, you came in hypermobile, and with that comes great responsibility. That's what I always tell my hypermobile, beginners who I see them in the warm up, and I'm like, that's going to be really fun for you. And let's talk about that for a second, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so fascinating too, because the more stuff that I learn, it's like when you're hypermobile in certain joints or certain pieces of your spine, then you're the opposite at some spots. You know what I mean? So it's usually not like an all or nothing. It's like these parts have more mobility and then these parts have less. So it's trying to like bring everything back to work together and say, you know, okay, like I work with a couple different contortion coaches, and one of them, Micah, likes to say like there's splits, not sits, that you shouldn't just sit there. Like if your joints are just lax enough that you sit there, like actually use your muscles. And that can be really hard to figure out that balance of which muscles and how to go so that you're safely, you know, able to get in and out of these moves. And that's really the hallmark of what I try to do in my mobility stuff, is to help people, you know, on both ends of that spectrum, you know, hyper and hypo mobile, you know, to figure out how to do this stuff safely for as long as they want to.
That is such a great point that you brought up. It's like someone that you see that is maybe hypermobile, that on the outside we see the shape that is super bendy, may in fact be relying on that hypermobile piece, and then the other piece is not, you know, is not flexible at all, and there's so much more stress put on that one spot rather than spread across like so many different systems of the body being able to support a shape or a move or something like that. So yes, exactly. That, I mean, I just love that. It is true. Like, you know, we look at people and say, oh gosh, they can bend in half. Oh, they suck. And it's like, well, actually, they have their work cut out for them too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're all dealing with stuff, you know, whether you sit at a day job all day and you've got some, forward posture from that. You're picking up your baby all day and they only want to be on one hip. Like we've all got compensations. You've had a serious, if you've had a serious injury or an accident, we've all got stuff. And so learning how we need to develop kind of our individualized plans for how to help ourselves, and advocate for ourselves and find good teachers who can work with us, that in itself is kind of a daunting journey to progress in our pole dancing.
I don't want to put you on the spot because I know it's hard to think of these things like in on the spot, but I'm actually really curious as far as like your mobility journey and your own strengthening and flex journey. Who are some people along the way who have been inspirational or who have helped you through that journey that that you've taken some key points from?
Oh, absolutely. I worked for a long time with Neola Wilby, who is the pole PT. She's written a couple of books now on pole. She wrote Strength and Conditioning for Pole. She wrote Pole Anatomy that just came out a couple months ago. And I worked with her for years developing my own personal training program because in my area, there weren't a lot. So, before, now everything's on Zoom, which is amazing. But before then, there weren't a lot of advanced pole instructors in my area that kind of lined up with what I wanted to learn and the way I wanted to learn. So I was just really struggling to find somebody. And Neo is based in the UK. So I worked with her for years and we've developed a friendship, and I helped her with her pole anatomy book, which was really amazing. And she helped me with my book. So definitely, if you don't know Neo, go check out the pole PT. Check out her book. She's got programs if you're looking to get your shoulder mount or something. She's got all sorts of awesome programs that are based in, the science of strength and conditioning. Her definitely, Micah Walters, as I mentioned, my first real contortion coach. And then I've also been working with contorture, Jonathan Nosen, who is another amazing contortionist who is, I don't remember exactly how old Jonathan is, so I apologize, but Jonathan is not a young human. And that to me is awesome that you were did not grow up being a contortionist, not a young person, still bend it in half. So, that's kind of what I'm looking for is people who are going to help along that road. But yeah, it's amazing now that with the one good thing I think that came out of the pandemic is that so many people went online and you can access all of these amazing, instructors and people all over the world, where before you were limited to if you were lucky enough to be in a place that had a lot of amazing instructors, and now those limitations are gone.
Yeah, I think it really did bring people together in a way that they could really have the chance to trial and hand pick coaches and different people that they wanted to learn from. Yeah, and that is a wonderful thing. And I feel like it's great because even though things are starting to get a little bit back to normal, I feel like that remains, those connections. So that is so cool. So if we wanted to get our hands on that book, I'm assuming we go to your Instagram link in bio.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Link in bio, and you can get my book. There's the digital version. There's a hard copy version. There's both if you like options.
Awesome. Yes. Okay. So now let's get into chatting a little bit about your support for people in the pole industry as business people.
Yeah. So also kind of during the pandemic, so I guess to rewind a little bit, my background is corporate. And I used to be involved in an industry for proposal management professionals. And there's an association that supports just about every type of industry out there. So I was very active in that. I was the president of the board of that for several years, did a lot of working on that industry, helping them run events. And so the concept of a trade association is something that made a lot of sense to me. And in terms of supporting the business side. And pole, we don't have that. So when I first took over PoleCon and bought it from the previous owner and revamped it, I'd always thought that this was a great annual event that should go with a trade association to help support the industry. And I just sat on that idea for a really long time because it's kind of a foreign concept to most pole folks. How is this going to be? I just wasn't sure. And during the pandemic, I saw so many people really struggling. And, trying to figure out like how to keep their businesses open, and what they should say to what is your COVID policy, like all these things. So I created the International Pole Industry Association. So if you go to poleassociation.org or on Instagram, and the industry, like, we're still evolving and trying to find exactly the footing. So right now, really focused on providing educational resources, providing webinars. This Saturday, we actually we're calling it, it's our third annual virtual PoleCon, and we're hosting a bunch of panel discussions about things that are maybe challenging in our industry. So not just business, which is obviously sort of the focal point, but also we have a panel discussion for strippers and sex workers to talk about challenges, or if people have questions, plus size pole dancers, the queer community, and also race and cultural appropriation issues, that's hosted by Black Girls Pole. And these are all panels that we have at Live PoleCon. And I thought they were important for folks who can't travel for whatever reason to have these resources, to ask these hard questions, to understand how we as a community and an industry can move forward and work together. So yeah, really the idea is just to continue supporting people in that specific business. Like, how do I start a pole business? Like, how, what are taxes? How many poles do I fit in a studio? Like, all these kinds of questions, and then have those interactions with the webinars or the other virtual events.
Wow, that is so important. And I feel, yeah, it owning a pole studio in, 12 years ago, you just feel like you're on this island just trying to figure it out one step at a time, right? So, I mean, a resource like yours is just wonderful to have in the community. So with that, with those, the association, and then you also have PoleCon, which is actually coming up, the in-person PoleCon back in action, right? Tell me a little bit about how that's going down this year.
Yeah, it's we're definitely back. It's our last event, which was held just this past June in Atlanta, was really well attended. We had over 1,000 people, which was where we were at kind of numbers wise in 2019 before the pandemic. So I was really happy to see people were coming back. They were excited. The showcases were full and crazy, like workshops were full. People were just so excited to be back in person. So I expect next year to be bigger. And it's going to be held June 15th through the 18th, and right in the DC metro area, which is my, not where I grew up, but it's my hometown now. I've been here for more than 20 years, and in this beautiful venue that has this like amazing stage. It's actually a venue that's set up for concerts. So I walked in and was like, oh shit, they're going to love this. Like, this is really like, so it's a beautiful, beautiful, amazing space where, people can showcase. There'll be vendors, there'll be workshops, and it's right in the DC metro area. It's north of DC, south of Baltimore, free parking. So all those kinds of really great things. So we're right now, the applications to be a part of PoleCon, whether you want to perform, if you want to do a paid workshop, a free workshop, all that stuff is live right now. If you'd like to, for anyone who'd like to apply, please do. We're always looking for, more folks to come and share, their uniqueness and amazingness with the rest of the community.
Oh, that's so great. Well, thank you so much for being I mean, I didn't realize that there was that corporate background, and I feel that bringing that business side to what we do, applying that to pole convention, bringing people together, as well as I feel like you did a lot of building of the pole convention. The pandemic, you built all of the resources for the people in the pole industry. And now you finally have these projects where you're getting back to your own roots and saying, well, gosh, what would me personally would have liked to have coming up as far as information as a pole dancer in mobility. So I just literally can't wait to see what you do next. I'm like, wow, this is fantastic. She's covering like all bases, giving information just so freely, and we're just so lucky to have you in our community to organize that and bring that about and then deliver it,
Well, thank you. I really want to help folks, and figure out how to do things better. And I'm constantly learning and growing. And, what I love about the pole community is it is so diverse. I'm meeting people from so many different places and walks of life, and who are constantly helping me learn how to be a better person, and then how to share in a way that is accessible, to other folks, and whether that's the business stuff and or the mobility, or everything. So it's so thank you. But I just want to keep helping folks as much as I can.
Well, you are a gem in our industry. So thank you so much. If you all want to check out, I mean, there's obviously something for everyone. Colleen has something to offer to everyone. I would highly suggest go to her Instagram page, go to her link in bio, because I'm sure that there's, a breakdown for the Pole Association, Pole Con stuff, and the mobility stuff, where you should absolutely grab her new book. And thank you for joining us today, Colleen. I will talk to you soon.
Yay! Thank you so much. It's so nice to see you.
All right, keep on. Bye.
Bye.